All right, guys. Welcome back to another virtual Jiu-Jitsu fundamentals class. Happy Saturday to everybody following along live out there. As always, if you guys have any questions in real time, feel free to pop them into the chat feature. Today's one, we're going to stick with our theme of escapes, and I was struggling to decide if I wanted to try to include this as a virtual class because especially with the still camera, without an actual videographer kind of following and showing the angles, there might be some stuff that's hard to see today. And so if you guys do have some questions, pop them into the chat and we'll do our best to manage camera angles and line of sight and things like that to give everybody the best vantage point to try to see this. And we're just gonna do the best that we can with it. And I think it is important to cover this position and this escape. It's one that happens a lot. It's one that happens in a lot of combat sport and grappling arts. It's not unique just to jiu-jitsu, although it is a position we see in jiu-jitsu quite a bit. And when submission holds are in play, as they are in jiu-jitsu, we need to be even extra aware. Hair malfunction over here. We need to be even extra aware of this position as a threat as compared to you see a similar position maybe a lot in wrestling, but in wrestling there's no submissions included in the rule set of the sport, and so that's one less thing that they have to worry about from there. And so the position is going to be what we call a front headlock position. And anybody that's done jiu-jitsu knows that there's a lot of different choke attacks that are available from the front headlock position. And it can be a really difficult position to deal with and to try to protect yourself and try to escape from. And so there's a lot of chokes and a lot of pressure your opponent can put on you, and you just really have to be careful with it. And we're just going to cover one of the most basic escapes from the position. But first, we need to show you guys what the position generally is going to look like, okay? So what is going to happen, I'm going to have Mira go into a turtle position on hands and knees, looking over that way. And so she'll be right about here. Okay. So a front headlock is when she's in a position like this and I'm on the front side of her shoulders. Okay. So if she were to put her arms out like she's a bird that's flying, all right, go ahead and do that. Okay. Yeah. If I'm on this side of her arms, we'll call this generally a front headlock or a front headlock type position, versus if I go to the other side of her arms and I'm behind her shoulder, we would call this like a turtle type of position, okay? And so we're gonna spend today being in front of Mira's shoulders, okay? And again, the vantage points I know are gonna be difficult to see, and so if you have a question, don't be shy about popping it into the chat feature for today. We wanna make sure that we're doing this to help you out there so that you can follow along well, okay? So let's first talk about how the top player is probably going to be holding this position, okay? So first off, what you will pretty much never see from a good player is having both of the top person's arms going past Mira's arms, okay? This is where I have both of my arms on this side of her. You're pretty much never gonna see that at all. Okay, it's very easy for the bottom person to escape then, okay? And on the flip side, you're almost only gonna see somebody, head down, you're almost only gonna see somebody have both hands in front of the arms if they're gonna be attacking a choke right away, a guillotine choke or some other chokes. Most of the time what you're gonna see is they're gonna have one arm go over and then one arm go under. So one arm directly on the neck and the other more on like the lat and rib and armpit area, okay? So that you guys can see from the camera. Again, we're gonna call this like our over position, where I'm kind of, it mirrors like lat or armpit. And then this one that's right on the neck, more of like an under type of position. One that goes over her body, one that goes under. And so that's typically how it's gonna be. And I'll show the other side. So again, I've got one that's going right here. And then my other hand, lift up your chin, Mira. My other hand is kind of right on her neck area. If you guys can see me wiggle my fingers right here. We'll have Mira do that on me so you guys can see with the different gi color and everything like that. So I'll go on the bottom, so she'll go on the top. And I'm going to angle it about a 45 to help you guys see a little bit better there. So what you're probably not going to see is her put both of her arms into an over position. This is where both of them are going to go on my lats. This is going to be fairly easy for me to escape, and Mira doesn't really have any viable submission threats from here, okay? Now, what she might do, but only if she's going to be attacking, is put both arms in the front into the under position. Now, my neck is vulnerable. She can start going for chokes, but she sacrifices a certain element of control. And so initially, we're going to have one hand in each of those positions, one over and one under. Yep. So this will be a good position for Mira. And then just for the camera, she'll show it the other way. So it's going to be one of these sort of things. Okay. Very good. And so that's what we want to expect. And that's what we're going to be looking to work our way out of for today. And when I'm held in that over-under position, there's naturally one side that's going to be easier to escape to than the other. And that's going to be the side where she has the over grip, okay? Where my head has more freedom to move. If you think about it, she's got one arm directly on my neck and the other is not. The other is kind of over by my lat. And so if I try to escape my head to one side, I'm going to run directly into Mira's arm. Versus if I can get my head to go the other way, there's actually some space for me to work and some space for me to move, okay? So if we go into an over-under and Mira puts her right arm against my neck and her left arm is the other side, that'll give you a good vantage point for what I'm talking about here, okay? So like this and like this. So she's got the good over-under control, and you guys can see I can get my head to move a little bit this way. If I try to get my head to go the other way, I go right into Mira's neck. And so it's very difficult, and it's going to be hard for me to escape out that way. Not necessarily that it's impossible, but it's for sure the harder direction. And that's, kind of the same way that we did with like that back escape, right? Which is, I think, one of the first escapes we learned in this training block, that we want to decide what direction our head is going to go to and then get our body kind of following along with that, okay? So I'm going to ask Mira to step off camera for just a second here. And we're going to show the body motion that we're going to need in order to achieve this escape. And the name of the escape is usually called a peek out. Sometimes it's called a sit out. And most people call this motion a sit out motion. And this is a great drill to do on your own for any sort of grappling. Jiu-jitsu, it is, again, something that we use a lot in lots of jiu-jitsu scenarios. And so learning this motion and getting your body good at this motion will help many aspects of your jiu-jitsu. Okay? So if we imagine that I'm in my sort of a turtle position here, I'm kind of on my elbows and my knees, potentially on my hands and my knees. What I'm going to be looking to do is I'm initially going to try to step up one leg so I've got a little bit of room to work there. Okay? So I'm going to step up one leg, and as you guys are learning this, it'll feel much easier if you start with a straight arm. Okay, so I recommend to at least start with the straight arm and then learn it from an elbow later on. And so what I'm going to do is have a moment where I'm only connected on opposite hand and leg. So my left hand and my right foot, and I'm going to try to make my other elbow go to the sky. You see how I'm sort of, my arms are in sort of a straight line like this. And you guys who do kettlebells, this should look just like one of our positions from Turkish Get Up, right? And so the next move is a little bit like a Turkish Get Up, where I'm going to actually swing this leg through, but then I'm going to pop my hips really high to the sky, and then I'm going to turn and land on my knees, but face sort of the other way compared to where I used to be. So it's almost like I'm turning a 180. So we'll start on our hands and knees. I'm going to step up one foot, and my foot's going to turn a little bit sideways like that. I'm going to make my hands try to go as much in a straight line like this as I can. And here's why they call it a sit out, is I'm going to kind of sit out this way, but I keep my hips as high to the sky as I possibly can. And then I'm going to back up so you guys can see my toes. So watch my toes. They kind of stay in place on this left foot, and I'm going to pivot over them so that I can land at a different angle than I started at, but I'm still potentially going to go back to my knees again. And for the drill, it's good. So there's two ways that you can kind of do the drill on its own. You can just practice sitting out without the spin, okay? So that would be 1, 2, 3, and then just reset back. And then the other side. And that's a really good drill to do on its own. And another way is to add that spin into it. So we still step up 1, 2, 3, and then I'm just gonna spin. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna spin. So I end up maybe about 90 degrees, give or take, on every rep. And all those ones that I just did, I did it from straight arms, and that's by far the easiest to do. However, when you go against a good opponent, you might have to do it from your elbows, so it's worth practicing that a little bit too, even though that's gonna be harder. So I'm gonna be down on my elbows like this, because I might be defending the choke. I need my hands to protect my neck. I can't put my hands on the floor because then I have nothing protecting my neck. So I'm like kind of protecting my neck, and I'm gonna step up 1, 2, still trying to get my hips high, and then spin over like that, okay? So we'll bring Mira back on camera. And again, she's gonna put her right hand into the choking position, and then she's gonna put her left arm into the over or the control position, and I'm gonna be escaping towards the camera. Okay, so she'll be right here. Good, okay? So from here, I'm of course using my hand to fight the choke. So I don't know if the camera can see this right now, but my left hand, the one farther away from the camera, I'm trying to get my fingers to block her arm to make it more difficult for her to get a choke. I'm gonna step up my leg, and I'm gonna try to make my elbow go to the roof. This is gonna clear some space. As I slide through, I'm trying to get my head to go toward the camera so my head comes out. Now, if Mira continues to hold, she's gonna get face planted. So she's probably gonna let go and be able to catch herself on her hands. But what I'm gonna be trying to do is keep my head driving into Mira. I'm gonna keep my head driving in so I can come get a top position behind her, okay? So I know it's some tricky angles to try to get with the camera. We're doing the best we can for you guys. Hopefully you can see. I'll show one more from about that same angle, and then maybe we'll try a different angle so you can see a different vantage point here. Okay, so one more. Mira, I'll start about here. First things first, don't get choked. So my hand goes right away to try to protect the choke. I step up to my foot. I try to make my elbow come out here, okay? And my head is gonna go towards the camera as I slide this through. And I'm trying to keep my butt off of the ground. This hand is gonna reach for her farthest hip bone, and I'm gonna now control her, and I'm on the top position at this point, okay? Let's look at a different angle here. I'm gonna have my butt start facing the camera, so Mira's gonna be over there. I'm gonna try to talk loudly enough that you guys can hear me. So, right here. All right, I get my fingers in, defend the choke. Foot up, elbow up. Sit through, Mira lets go so she doesn't face plant. And then I spin around and I get her from the hip bone there, okay? So if you guys have any questions, let's pop those into the chat now. If you have any angles that you wanna see or any details that you wanna see, pop those in the chat now. And then we're gonna get Mira doing a few reps. And if any questions come up, I'll make sure we get those answered before we wrap up for today, okay? So let's have Mira go. I'm gonna kind of trade roles with her. So she's gonna be at that first 45 degrees facing the camera. Right about there will be good. Okay. So I'm gonna be in the control. Her left arm is gonna get my wrists. Her right leg's gonna step up. Her right arm's gonna go to the sky. She's gonna sit through. She's gonna get her head out. Head is out, yeah, all the way out, perfect. And now she reaches her arm to my hip bone, and she comes up and gets the control. Good. Okay. Let's do a few more. This is a tricky one. When you do this one in class, it takes a lot of reps to get good at. So we're going to give Mira a few reps here and hopefully not mess up her eyelashes because we don't want that.
They're already messed up.
All right, so Mira's down. All right, I've got the control. She fights the choke with her fingers. Foot up, elbow up, peek out, slide through, get my hip bone, and now she's on top. Good. Let's give her one more from this angle, and then we'll change the angle up. Okay, one more from the same angle. All right, step one, get your fingers in to defend the choke. Step two, foot up. Step three, elbow up. Step four, head out, sit through. Then get the hip bone. There we go, very good. Right. Now let's just change the angle, give Mira a few more reps. We'll have her butt face the camera. I'll be over here. Turn this way. There you go. All right, so step one, she fights the choke. Step two, foot up. Step three, elbow up. Head out, sit through, get my hip bone. Excellent. One more rep there. One more rep for Mira. All right, step one, defend the choke. Step two, step up, then elbow up. Head up and sit through, get my hip bone. There you go. So we call that a sit out or a peek out escape. Okay, and remember the side you go to is very important for this. And so we really want to make sure that you're going to that over side. It's going to be really difficult to do this if you go the other way. And now that you see the move, you understand why most good people don't control with both arms over, because now I can go to either side. I can go to whatever side I want to go to, right? If Mira were to make that same control on me, but do it sort of the wrong way and do both of her arms over, I could go either direction. All right? All right? I could go 1, 2, and come out this way, or I could go 1, 2, and come out that way. I can go either way. So I can get out either side, and she doesn't have a choke available to her. And so it's really not something you're going to see from a person who has training in grappling. They're probably not going to get out that way, or they're not going to control the top position that way. And also, she can't control the distance for me getting her leg and driving forward and finishing it like a single leg or a double leg, because she doesn't have an arm in between to stop me from coming at her, right? Let's take a look at that. We'll back up away from the camera a little bit. So she'll do that kind of the bad control where both of her arms come over, right? And so there's nothing stopping me. I can get both of her legs now. I can lock her legs up, and I can drive her over and start smashing her and start getting her. I can do all that stuff from there. Okay? So again, a better player is going to use the over-under control, one arm on the neck to threaten the choke, the other arm on the other side. And they might go both arms right on your neck when they're trying for the choke, but it's also hard for them to control for very long from there. So over-under is usually what it's going to be. So if you have any questions, get them in now. We're about to wrap up. Mira, what questions do you have?
When do I poke my head through? Is it when I'm sliding through or when I'm getting my elbow up?
Good question. You want to get your head through at the earliest possible opportunity.
While I'm doing this, try to.
Yeah, you want to try to be getting over that way. So the answer is you want to get it out at the earliest possible opportunity. And two, realistically, it's going to be hard to get your head out much until your hips start going through. So you want your head out as early as you can, and realistically, we can expect that to happen once your hips lead the motion. So,
makes sense.
Other questions? Questions from the group? Okay, so last thing before we dismiss class, I'm going to put a little resistance on Mira, and she has to try to get out. So it'll be fun for me, probably not very fun for her, but that's what she signed up for. All right, so Mira's going to be down, hands and knees. I've got my control on her. I'm blocking her a little bit. I'm being a little heavier. And she got me. Good job, sweetie.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's what we've got for you for today. If you have any questions that you didn't think of live, then pop them into the comments later on, or just email us and we'll get them in there. Thank you very much. Have a good Saturday. We'll see you next time.
The top knot is not so good for the jiu-jitsu.